be talking about arrowheads. I guess today's episode's gonna be a little edgy, get it? So when I think of arrowheads, I think of being a kid and hiking around and looking for something sharp that looked like it was from back when there was Native Americans using them to hunt. I am guessing it's gonna be extremely sharp, so I'm gonna have to be careful. But why don't I stop guessing and just jump on in? Oh, that's a lot smaller than I thought it would be. Different color too. I thought it was gonna be a little bit bigger, and I thought it was gonna be sharper. This doesn't look as sharp. Maybe that's, because it's a little bit older. Lots of different uses for arrowhead, which I think is so cool in the gem and geology world, is that it's not just pretty jewelry to stick in your ear around your finger. This really is a part of someone's life and a part of a culture. This to me looks like it's a pretty good specimen. You can see where it was carved, how it was made, where it would have been attached to some sort of arrow or spear handle. But how many look like this, and where can I find these? Christopher, tell me what arrowheads are and why do I care and what is their use?
Well, you'd mostly care if one of them was headed towards you, but you won't really have that happen much these days. What you care more about is if you can find them. If you ever get the chance to go looking for them, look around water, because that's where a lot of the hunting was done. As far as where we care about it, it's that they're made in a lot of cases out of materials that are usually the same as some of the ornamental rocks that we use. If you've ever seen a big quartz crystal, well, imagine a stone made of millions of those that are too small for you to see. That's microcrystalline or cryptocrystalline. These have that cryptocrystalline formation. Quartz and jasper, agate, and quartzite all have conchoidal fracture, and that's what really makes these possible.
That's all conchoidal fractures right there. It'll look like, kind of like a half circle divot, and that's just the way they'll crack or they'll fracture differently. That's a really cool pin. I'm guessing that is an arrowhead?
Yes, and there are a lot of arrowheads made these days, or if you want to focus in on it there. So this one was made for decorative purposes. This is a modern arrowhead, and it was created much the same way because you have the conchoidal fracturing, but just made for ornamentation.
Where was the first arrowhead?
Tens of thousands. I want to say as far back as 100,000-year-old deposits, or at least the geology was 100,000 years old. Some in South Africa have dated back to 77,000 years old. In fact, the way that these, that's
carbon dating
from the local, what is dateable and based on where they're found.
That's a whole nother episode.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
These are definitely a find. Anyone who's hiking or outside is going to want to find an arrowhead or spearhead. Are there any places that it's more concentrated to find these?
A lot can be found in the Ohio Valley. You can find them in Oklahoma. Of course, if you are doing that, make sure that you check the local regulations as to where you are, because you're not necessarily supposed to collect them everywhere.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
So that's always something to be conscious of. With these, the Native American pieces were typically done from napping, and that's basically you would have a rounded stone and you would apply force
so you kind of just go
to knock off the
this?
piece along the edge, and you would get those natural flakes. You also had other tools like the celts. These were actually formed from pecking. In this case, they've made minor little hits on the stone to get the formation here, and then it was then smooth and ground to make more like an axe head.
Is that a scalper?
No, it's not a scraper. No, it's just an axe. It's a celt.
Gross. All right, so coolest fact about arrowheads or spearheads. Go.
Coolest fact about them is that you are talking about being out in the woods with nothing harder than the rock around you, and somebody had just the brilliant idea in our ancient history that knocking these two together could give them an edge and basically give us teeth and claws that we lack to go out there and get the animals that we needed to be able to survive, to store some food back, and to actually have the time to start creating a civilization.
This is not too sharp now. I trust that back in this little guy's heyday, it was sharper. Have these been flattened down over time at all?
Depending on their age, once it's actually formed this way, it's then going to thereafter start weathering like any other stone. So over time, it is going to lose some of its edge. There's a point at which you have to balance, can I get it sharper or am I going to break the edge off? So they would have been sharp enough to get the job done, but at that point, you probably wouldn't try to really put a lot of finesse on it because you'd be afraid of breaking the tool.
So if I had one of these on a spear or an arrow, I could easily butcher myself some dinner.
Absolutely. Okay. You just have to sneak up on it, and I've heard you around lunchtime, and that growling's going to alert something before you get there.
My stomach growling. I get extremely angry. So what I like to do at the end of these episodes is have our audience take a closer look. So
Pick one of these out and then show one thing that you think is super cool or that you want them to remember.
This is one thing that I really find interesting about these. A lot of the difficulty was getting the piece mounted. In this case, someone had to not only get a sharp enough edge to use, but they also had to put the notches and form the piece down here. And whenever you're doing this is a long task. This is, something that you're doing not because you're interested in the stone or you're having fun, but because you want to eat, and you want to eat soon. You're taking a risk whenever you add any modifications that you could break the piece. So I always find it fascinating when I see how they get these nice curves in here to where they could have actually tied it down to a shaft to use as a tool.
Wasn't Christopher so sharp? I'm all out of bad jokes for today, but I want to hear your best arrowhead puns. Leave it in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. You don't want to miss our next episode.